Yeah! Oh, my throat hurts because of that.
Hey everybody!
Man, am I glad to see all of you because I am so excited for today's topic, everybody. Now, I understand that the rant videos are not the most popular, but you gotta understand how fun these are to make. And everybody, I think I'm actually pretty qualified for this one. Now, first of all, I don't claim to be an expert on any of these topics, nor do I claim to be a hardcore fan like the best of the best and the know-it-all. I just like talking about things I like, man. And today's topic, this intro is gonna be short because I know it's gonna be a long one. Is Chainsaw Man. First of all, this anime was the one that got me back into anime. The first anime that I've ever watched before this was just Attack on Titan, and I was probably like 12 years old. I liked it, I didn't finish it, but it was pretty good. And you know, after that I thought, maybe anime is just not really my thing. I thought I wouldn't really be into it. I thought it was just never gonna pop up in my kind of style. I mean, wow, even some of me thought that stuff was kind of cringe. But it's like books, I'm telling you. It's just like you gotta find the one that interests you. If you have the ability to read, I firmly believe that there is a book out for you somewhere. Like, there's not a single person who has the ability to read that doesn't enjoy reading. You just gotta find the one that suits you, man. And now I feel like that ideology has passed from not only books to animes, for me. They're just so diverse and different that you can't say I don't like anime. It's not definitive. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I was sitting down taking a poo, like I usually do before these videos. Just relaxing, letting it all out, letting my stress flow down my bowels and into the toilet. And like most people, I was on social media during this time, just sitting down, scrolling Twitter, you know, looking at my feed. And that's when it popped up. The pool scene. Now, if any of you out there watching this video are CSM fans, you know what I'm talking about. But if you are not, then if you plan on watching the series, it's probably gonna have a lot of spoilers, I'm just saying. And it's this tweet like, wow, I've never seen such a intimate scene where it's not actually fan service, but it's really an emotional take, even though the characters are naked. Now, it wasn't exactly that, but that's basically what the person was saying. And so me being curious, I clicked on the clip and started watching. And I wasn't even aware of anything in Chainsaw Man. But that clip blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. And what captured me the most is the instrumental in the back. And so I showered and I put on In the Pool, and it was just an incredible time. I was just thinking of the animation and I was like, wow, the story makes me curious. And so I was like, I need to watch this anime when I get out of the shower. And that, ladies and gentlemen, led to me finding an incredible interest of mine. I started watching it and I finished it and I watched the Reze arc movie and I saw all these different scenes and different things that I was looking for, and I was like, wow, what an incredible anime and movie. And we're gonna skip over all that. No one wants to hear about my story about watching anime or like me sitting in my bum room by myself watching a movie. We're gonna talk about my thoughts, particularly about what is coming up soon. Now, just about a month ago or so, the Assassin's Arc official trailer just came out. Particularly the second trailer, I feel like it shows us a lot more than the first trailer did. I mean, the first one was just a teaser, it literally showed us basically nothing. But here's the predicament. I bought the mangas after I watched the series and I watched the movie. I was so intrigued, and I just started book 7. Now, book 7 is where this arc starts. So I'm basically looking at this from a perspective of like, I'm just guessing what's gonna happen, even though everybody knows what's gonna happen already. You know, the books are out, they've been out for a while, and you know, you can just see the story, right? I don't know what's gonna happen yet, but here are some things that I want to happen. And this is gonna sound stupid to a lot of people who know what's gonna happen and who have already read the story, but I haven't read it yet. I'm probably gonna know soon because I'm gonna keep reading, but yeah. First and foremost, I want Denji to improve. He's gonna essentially be going up against 4 groups of master assassins. And personally, I think he doesn't spend enough time in his chainsaw form. And that made me pretty curious. Why does Kishibe, being an incredible devil hunter as he is, not train Denji in his chainsaw form? Obviously, if you're training in human form, like, some skills transfer, you know, your agility and stuff like that, but like, it's a completely different fighting scenario fighting as Denji and fighting as Chainsaw Man. What's the point of so vigorously training him as a human, but when he gets into a real serious scenario, he's fighting as a chainsaw? He only ever turns chainsaw mode in these serious situations, like when he was fighting Reze or when he was fighting, what's his name? Samurai Sword. And pretty much every single time in these encounters, he's on the losing end. And I get it, like, it's for dramatic effect, it's for entertainment. He has to be on the losing end to make it more surprising when he wins. But personally, and specifically in the book adaptation, it just feels like he's super on the losing end. Like, dude's not even putting up a fight. It's like a fight where, like, he's fighting a nuke, basically. And it's like, how was he supposed to win this? In both these fights with Reze and Samurai Sword, it's almost like he's losing, and then bam, he just gets a lucky strike and they're dead. It's never like he's really putting up a fair fight. But I think in the movie adaptation and in the series, they do this a little bit better. You know, they have him, you know, winning sometimes, you know, losing sometimes. You know, it's a little bit better, but in the books, it literally feels like he's just losing forever and then just automatically wins at the very end. And I love these fights and I love these movies and series and I just love Chainsaw Man in general, but like, this is me being super nitpicky right now. Don't even get me started on how many times he dies. In the second half of the Chainsaw Man Reze arc movie, he dies like 4 times. But yeah, I just want to see Denji's fighting style use all of his potential like it should. But that leads me to the next thing. I want to see the expansion of Denji and Makima's relationship. Not just the expansion, but I want to see the answers. Look, I don't know about you guys, but it seems pretty obvious to me. We don't really know at this point in the story, at least, what Makima's intentions are. There are some parts, like specifically the movie date, when they seem very close. It seems like she's interested, you know? But there's some parts of the story where it feels like there's almost a second intention, like she's using him. And whenever I have that thought, I think about to the first time they met. Makima literally refers to Denji as her dog, but then goes on to say that she's into boys like Denji. And then you got the infamous Gun Devil talk. Denji, if you kill the Gun Devil, I'll grant you any one wish. Like, it's almost like she's abusing his interest in her to have him be on her side. And we don't really know anything about Makima right now. How did she survive on the train? What devils is she with? You know, other things like that. Why are her eyes like that? I like Makima as a character and as a woman, but I kind of want to see Denji confront himself about this. If this is actually like how the story is trying to tell itself, or like if I'm just thinking about this and going hallucinating. Like, I want to see Denji question himself about this because it seems like he hasn't done it before. If he's like, yo, she's using me. And that is just an amazing thing about the Chainsaw Man lore. They tie in lust and relationships and, you know, wanting women so well because Denji was deprived of that all his life. So you kind of understand why these things happen, and it's not just like fan service out of nowhere. So yeah, it basically boils down to I want to know Makima more, and I want to know why she's treating Denji the way she is and not like, you know, establishing a relationship or like rejecting him or whatever. Not, she's like, you know, kind of leaving it in the air. And another question that isn't obviously asked by the anime is basically what happened to Reze and Samurai Sword. There are other questions I wanted to talk about, like, you know, the dream, or like why does everybody want Denji's heart? But you know, I feel like those are kind of asked by the anime. They want you to wonder that, so it's kind of like a dumb question because that's going to get explained in the story. But what happened to Samurai Sword and Reze? Samurai Sword was arrested, Reze was killed. But they're the same case as Denji. You pull the trigger on them and bam, they're alive again. They're invincible. They're basically immortal. But this is kind of a bad question because I feel like there's one main answer that you can pull up for this. I imagine that public safety has kept them, you know, in a containment center and probably killed them. Because as long as you don't pull the trigger on them, you know, activate their whatever it is, then they don't come back to life. But that's boring, you know, and not useful enough. It's pretty obvious, but other than that, at the start of book 7, Makima literally explains that people like Denji are incredibly rare, but they exist and they're immensely valuable. They're so extremely powerful to have people that are fused with devils. And, you know, public safety in Japan has 3 of them. To have 3 of those mutant types would be insane power, much more over Russia, China, and the US if they had been able to rehabilitate them. But that would mean you'd have to negotiate and make friends with the devil once they're alive again. So maybe they're not dead, but at the same time, how do you contain a species like that? Number one, they have incredible power on their own. I mean, like the fight with, you know, Samurai Sword and the fight with Reze were incredibly destructive of the city, and they can just blast through walls like nothing. How do you contain something like that? But on the other hand, they're also allies with the Gun Devil, which means the Gun Devil could just basically explode their prison, get through all of it, and just release them. But that would be a cool concept if, you know, the public safety in Japan were able to ally Samurai Sword and Reze Bomb and, you know, get them on their side to fight alongside Denji. That would be so cool. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. But this kind of ties back again to the thing about Denji's power and his own potential, his combat potential. Why does everybody want him over Reze? Sure, Denji won the fight, but it's pretty much inarguable that Reze is 10 times stronger than Denji. She killed him multiple times and already was on the upper hand for pretty much the entire fight. Why do people not care about her? Why is it that Denji's heart is more valuable than Reze's heart? And for that one, honestly, I don't really have much of an explanation right now. But those are just some of the things I've been wondering about the anime, and, you know, I'm just a huge Chainsaw Man fan in general, you know? Oh, and there's another thing I want to say. I loved watching the series first and going to the books. I think it was great. If someone wants to get into Chainsaw Man, they should watch the series first and then go to the books. The series and the movie helps you visualize the fight scenes more, you know, kind of visualize what's going on, the setting and stuff like that. It's a little bit better for the human mind to comprehend everything. And not only that, but they do a perfect job, you know, adapting it to a series. I don't know if other animes and other mangas are like this, but literally you can see when you're reading the mangas exactly what panels they took, and it looks pretty much identical. And not only that, but the dialogue is practically the exact same. After watching the series and the movie, literally reading the book was basically, it felt like I was watching the series again. It was so similar, and it's adapted perfectly. But this is the reason why I think watching the series is better, because it kind of fills in the little gaps in the frames and, you know, things like that, because a picture doesn't tell as much story as an animation does. There are some scenes where I'm reading in the book and I'm like, how did they get in this position? Or like, how are they moving? Or like, what's their body body language and things like that. But, you know, I can just think back to the series and be like, oh, wow, that's what it was like. And so that's what the author's trying to convey here, but it's a little bit unclear in the book. The only thing I can recall that was not in the series was that one fight with like the muscle devil. I don't even know what it was. Whatever, like after Denji and Makima meet, they get ramen and then Denji goes into the force to save a little girl. That's like the only part that they didn't include. Besides that, it's pretty much picture perfect, dialogue perfect. I am just so excited for, you know, the upcoming Chainsaw Man series season 2, and that's basically all my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching, thank you for supporting, thank you for all the support on the recent videos. I seriously love you guys so much. And, you know, if we want to talk about anything, you know, talk about your favorite things, you want to come talk to me, you want to play games or whatever, my Discord link is in the description. You can hit me up literally whenever. All right, IL12 link. So, with that being said, if you guys got any entertainment, any joy out of this video, I sure did. And if you did, then I'm so happy because I did my job. And it's been amazing seeing you all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Ian. I'll catch you guys later. And it's been amazing seeing you guys. I'll see you on Friday. See ya.